The sun hung high over a stretch of rural Tennessee highway, bleaching the asphalt pale and pulling dust from the shoulders of the road. Heat shimmered above the pavement as a line of armored black SUVs moved steadily through the countryside. Inside the lead vehicle, President Donald Trump sat quietly, a folder of economic reports resting unopened on his lap. Charts, projections, small-town revitalization plans, important things. But his eyes weren't on the paperwork. They were on the world passing by. Golden fields, lean barns, faded billboards, the kind of places most people sped through without noticing. Ahead, on the right shoulder of the road, a small cluster of people stood near a rickety roadside stand. Not a protest, not a rally, just locals. One Secret Service agent leaned forward slightly. Civilians on the shoulder. No visible threat. Maintain course. Then Trump saw her. A small girl stood beside a wooden crate, holding a hand-lettered cardboard sign. Fresh eggs, $2 a dozen. She wore an oversized straw hat that slipped low over her brow. Dust clung to her sneakers. Her hands were streaked with dirt, but her face carried something rare. Not desperation, not fear. Hope. Trump raised his hand. Stop the convoy. The agent turned. Sir, I said stop. Brakes screeched. The line of SUVs rolled to a halt, dust billowing around them. Agents poured out, forming a tight perimeter. Trump opened the door and stepped into the heat. The girl stared wide-eyed, clutching her sign tighter. Trump walked toward her, slow and steady. What's your name, sweetheart? Leah, she said softly. I'm 11. Why are you selling eggs today, Leah? She swallowed, then answered without hesitation. 'Cause Mama can't walk today. She had one of her dizzy spells. We still needed to sell the eggs. Trump crouched so they were eye level. You take care of the chickens yourself? She nodded. Hazel, Pepper, and Dot. I feed them every morning. A murmur rippled through the small crowd as people began recognizing him. Phones came out. Trump didn't notice. Where do you live? Leah pointed toward a narrow dirt path disappearing behind a field of wilted sunflowers. Up there. Our roof leaks, but we got good chickens. Trump paused. And your dad? She hesitated. He left when I was 6. Mama says he's finding himself. I think he just got lost. Something tightened in Trump's chest. I'll take all your eggs, he said. Her eyes widened. All of them? That's 10 dozen. That's $20, right? She nodded. Trump pulled out his wallet. Make it 100. I'm investing in your business. Leah blinked. Are you real? Trump smiled faintly. I ask myself that a lot. He glanced up the dirt path. I want to meet your mom. Agents exchanged uneasy looks. Sir, protocol. This isn't a campaign stop, Trump said. It's a people stop. Leah led the way, barefoot on gravel. Watch the roots, she warned. I tripped yesterday and broke some eggs. Mama said broken things still matter. Trump said nothing. The house came into view. A small, faded white cabin. Sagging porch. Plastic over one window. Rusted tin on the roof. But wind chimes hung by the door, chiming softly. It wasn't pretty. It was alive. Mama, Leah called. We got a visitor. The door opened slowly. A thin woman in her early 30s leaned on a cane. Her face was pale but kind. Her eyes widened. Oh, Mr. President. Trump lifted a hand. I'm just here because your daughter is remarkable. Leah grinned. Inside, Grace poured peach tea into mismatched mugs. I used to be a teacher, she said. Then the seizure started. Doctors don't know why. I tried working, but every time I collapsed, someone had to clean it up. So I sell eggs and hope. Trump studied the chip table, the crooked family photos, the quiet dignity. Have you ever asked for help? Grace nodded. From God. Trump leaned forward. Would you let me help too? Tears slid down her cheeks. I don't want pity. It's not pity, Trump said. It's respect. He wrote something on a business card. Someone will call you tomorrow. As he stood, Grace squeezed his hand. I never voted for you, she said. He smiled. Doesn't matter. You raised Leah. That tells me everything. The next morning, The phone rang. "Hello, this is Sarah Lell, Office of Rural Development." By Friday, a black SUV pulled into the dirt driveway. Sarah walked the land, took notes, asked real questions. 5 acres, new chicken coop, solar panels, medical support, feed assistance, business licensing, not charity, infrastructure. President Trump wants this to be a pilot program, Sarah said. A model for rural renewal. Grace covered her mouth. Us. Sarah smiled. Yes. That night, Leah whispered, Mama, do you think we're still poor? Grace hugged her. I think we're still us, just with more possibilities. Back in Washington, Trump reviewed the report. He wrote one line at the bottom. For once, he didn't think about approval ratings or polling numbers. He studied a single photograph. It was grainy and slightly crooked. Leah standing beside her egg stand, straw hat tilted low, cardboard sign in her small hands. Trump circled it with his pen. Beneath the photo he wrote, "This is America." He signed it simply. News of the president's roadside stop spread quickly across Tennessee and beyond. Journalists descended on Grace's small farm, eager to capture the story behind the girl with the eggs. For Grace and Leah, the sudden attention felt overwhelming. Sarah Lell stepped in immediately. "We need to control the narrative," she said gently but firmly. "This isn't about one family. It's about thousands of rural families fighting to survive." Leah, who once worried her story would disappear into the dust, soon found herself speaking on local radio stations. "I just wanted to help my mama," she told one host. "That's all." Listeners across the region heard themselves in her voice. Trump watched from Washington. Advisors cautioned him about political risks, but he didn't waver. "This isn't politics," he said. "It's people, and if we stop listening to people, then we've already failed." Letters began arriving at the farmhouse. Handwritten notes, small donations, offers to help. A local hardware store delivered new tools. A retired nurse volunteered weekly home visits for Grace. A church group repaired the leaking roof. Grace realized something remarkable was happening. Their struggle had become a symbol, proof that hope could grow even in forgotten places. One afternoon, as Grace and Leah cleared brush near the fence line, a dusty pickup pulled into the drive. A man in his late 40s stepped out, wearing work boots and a warm smile. "Name's Jack Turner," he said, extending a hand. "I run a chicken farm about 10 miles from here. Saw your story on the news." He explained how his own farm had once been failing, until a stranger showed him better methods and refused to let him quit. "I'm just paying it forward," Jack said. From then on, Jack visited regularly. He brought equipment, shared feeding schedules, taught coop design. Most importantly, he encouraged Leah. "You're not just an egg seller," he told her one day. "You're a business owner." Grace watched the bond grow and felt a weight lift she hadn't realized she'd been carrying. One evening in Washington, Trump received a handwritten letter. "Dear Mr. President, you didn't just buy our eggs. You gave us a future. Mama is getting stronger. Leah's dreams are growing. You reminded us that broken things still matter. With gratitude, Grace and Leah." Trump read it twice, then pinned it to the corkboard in his office. Sometimes, he thought, the quiet moments mattered most. Not everyone believed the story. Critics called it staged. Social media filled with skepticism. What's the real agenda? Grace and Leah saw the comments and felt the sting. Sarah reassured them. "Truth doesn't need to shout," she said. "It just needs to be lived." Trump faced pressure to move on. He refused. "These are real lives," he said. "We're staying the course." With grants and community support, the farm transformed. A new barn replaced a collapsing coop. Solar panels lined the roof. Water pumps hummed steadily. Leah started a small egg delivery service, hiring neighbors who had lost work. Grace hired part-time nursing help and began responding better to treatment. One evening, they sat on the porch watching the sun melt into the horizon. "Mama," Leah whispered, "we did it." Grace squeezed her hand. "No, sweetheart, you did. You never quit." One day, Leah discovered an envelope tucked beneath the porch steps. Inside was a letter from an anonymous donor. funding to expand the farm into an education center for rural children. Grace stared at the page in disbelief. Who would do this? Leah smiled softly. Maybe it's the world saying we matter. Trump was quietly informed. He simply said, keep supporting them. This is bigger than us now. The farm became a place of learning. Children visited to study agriculture, science, and entrepreneurship. Retired farmers volunteered. Teachers offered weekend classes. A local chef taught cooking with fresh eggs and produce. Neighbors who once struggled alone now worked side by side. Leah's egg sales doubled. But more importantly, so did belief. A formal invitation arrived. Grace and Leah were asked to attend a national agriculture summit. On stage, Leah spoke with steady confidence. Hope doesn't come from big speeches, she said. It comes from people who stop and listen. Trump watched from the front row, quietly proud. Afterward, philanthropists offered scholarships and funding for rural innovation programs. Years passed. The farm and education center flourished. Grace's health stabilized. Leah grew into a young woman, leading with kindness and strength. One evening, Grace stood inside the center, watching children laugh where hardship once lived. On the wall hung a framed letter, the one she wrote to the president long ago. She whispered, sometimes the smallest moments change everything. Because it had all started with a girl, a cardboard sign, a dozen eggs, and a man who chose, for once, to stop.